Last time I was talking about the true enemy, which are our afflicted mental states. And I'm still on this topic because I need to be. And so I'll just stick with I continue to react as if the enemy is out there. Well, there's no enemy out there. Sure, there's cooperative conditions. You know, people will do and say things until we're even when we're Buddhas, people will do and say things. But it's how we react to these things that is the key. And so I was looking online at the number of talks that Venerable Choden has given on this topic. And we've all sat through those talks here and we've nodded in agreement because it makes such sense. There's one series that has 108 talks just on the negative mental states and afflictions. We've nodded through all of them. How are you doing with it? I'll answer for myself. It's a work in progress. I'm sort of at the beginning. So I think what I have to continue doing, and this is why I love this section that I'm going to read from Geshe Sopa, is that I have to get it first of all in my head that these are very dangerous mental states. I mean, calling them disadvantages, calling them drawbacks, this section is called the faults of the obscuring afflictions, is quite nice and tidy, but it doesn't smack me on the head like I need to be smacked, to be quite blunt about it. I have to get shaken, apparently. So I'm going to read to you a few sections that shake me up. And then it's not just going again, yes, really terrible, really bad. We have to go to the meditation cushion and sit on this and bring to mind the times when I have been a jerk and when I've reacted as if the enemy is out there. Otherwise, it just always is, terrible. It's just so terrible. Or it's, I feel such compassion for those jerks out there, So this is meant to shake me up. It does it every time, and I just have to continue working on this. So last time I read the first sentence. That is as far as I got. I'm going to read a bit more. So this section is called The Faults of the Obscuring Afflictions from Geshe Sopa, Steps on the Path to Enlightenment, Volume 2, Karma. Order it after this talk. Okay, so the afflictions always bring bad results. They never have good effects. Yes, I know. As soon as an affliction arises, it disturbs your mind and causes you to perceive the object of attention in a distorted manner. It reinforces, solidifies, and perpetuates the subtle propensities that are already present. When an affliction arises, other afflictions of a similar nature are not interrupted but can be actually stimulated and increased. Okay, so now listen to this next part. As soon as an affliction arises, it harms oneself first. Hello? Isn't that enough to get my attention? And then it often harms others. I would say always, not often, always. For example, when anger arises, it immediately harms you by causing mental suffering. Then when you act on that anger, you will do mental or physical injury to someone else. In the end, both you and the person you are angry with are harmed by the arising of your own inner affliction. Moreover, the negative karma of your aggressive action leaves the propensity for more suffering results to ripen in the future. All the afflictions lead to misdeeds now and in future lives, and all the harmful actions you perform, motivated by the afflictions, will ripen into unpleasant experiences in this and future lives. Isn't that compelling? Yes, it is. I get it. Sometimes. When the afflictions arise, they push us away from nirvana. This is because these deluded thoughts and the harmful actions they give rise to cause you to cycle in samsara for a longer time. So what does beginningless time mean to us at this point? Long time, I guess. Because of the afflictions and negative karma, you spend vast periods of time trapped in miserable lives, and emancipation is pushed farther away. So the other day I was talking about, how the tips of defensive driving are so helpful. But I think that analogy can still be construed as the problems out there. It's those other drivers. But what you have to think about is, imagine, it's the other drivers that are creating situations for us to respond to. So I think the better term for those tips is protective driving. We have to be ready for these inner afflictions to rise up in any way, shape, and form all day long. So I think a better example, I thought of two, is, did you ever go to a tennis court as a kid and you practiced against the backboard? I grew up in a town where there weren't enough people to play with. So and I got tired of playing tennis with my brother, and he got sick of it sooner playing with me. So I spent hours in summers playing, shooting the ball against the backboard. So the way you send the ball to the backboard is going to determine how it comes back to you, right? So the way we relate to other people is going to determine how they relate to us, sometimes, so that's an effective one. And then the other thing about driving, I thought of this experience I had when I was, 23. And I was on this 9-week camping tour in Europe, and we went to 16 countries in 9 weeks. It was sort of like a blur. And we got sick with the flu 6 different times because there was no sanitation, the washing of dishes in cold water, the washing of hands, I think, period, was minimal. But at one point in the trip, we were driving in this bus on the Amalfi Way. Well, I wasn't a Buddhist at that point. I wish I was, but I was a lapsed Catholic. The driver of the bus, he told us his name was Dylan Thomas. Anyway, he was drunk most of the time. So here we are on this road, on a bus, and this road has like 1.5 lanes. There's no guardrails most of the time. So if the driver does something wrong, you plummet to your death. There's no question. You plummet several hundred feet to your death. In a bus, you're not going to make it. So, I was praying big time on that bus. So as a driver, if we can imagine now, if you're a driver on a road like that, it doesn't matter what the other drivers do. You're going to do whatever you can to keep everybody safe. That's what the afflictions are like. That's how I would like to behave. Whatever comes at me, I'm going to do whatever is possible to keep everybody safe. Because one wrong move, and there's disaster. That's how I want to get it in my head and heart, that this is what the afflicted mental states are like when things come at me, and they'll come at me forever. So here's another thing to just think about. This is from Maitreya's ornament for the Mahayana Sutras. Because of obscuring afflictions, you destroy yourself. You destroy other beings. You destroy ethical conduct. Your virtues degenerate. Your wealth declines. Your protectors and teachers revile you. Your bad name spreads. In future lives, you are born in places devoid of freedom. Finally, you come to great mental anguish over the decline of virtues you attained or were yet to attain. Well, that's kind of like the old shake up, wake up. So I'm going to continue reading from these passages because I need to hear this. And maybe it'll just remind you so that when you see me suffering, I'm sure you're beyond this now, but you'll see me suffering and you're going to have compassion for the suffering state I'm in when I react in a way that I wish I couldn't, wouldn't, didn't. Let's continue reviewing the faults, the dangers of the obscuring afflictions.